Good morning. It's morning here, so good morning. I like to revisit. Yesterday I made a film with my mobile phone and about the what is charge, with the question what is charge. We make everyday use of the fact that there are charges, electricity, crystals, stuff like that, atoms, molecules. It's all based on water, polarity. It's all based on mobile phones, lights, etc. It's all based on charge. But what deep down inside is charge? Science still doesn't know what charge now really is. And yesterday I presented for the first time a model of what charge may be, how a model that may explain how charge is working. So I like to represent it or better with a better resolution. Now I have a better camera and to present it so you can see the pictures more clear in the hope that that you get the picture I try to convey to you. So I restarted again, revisited, kind of revisited the whole thing. Let me see, this is a wrong drawing. Okay, let me start. What I showed you yesterday is this picture. Let's start with this. Now, a positively charged, I hope you can see it. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, that's better. Is it? Yeah. A positively charged, like here, yeah, is emitting all kinds of particles in all directions. That direction, to the above and to the top. And each of these particles have a wave function. I call them beads or dots or beads, and they have a wave function. A wave function. The wave function for a dot. Now each positively charged is emitting in all directions, in all areas, these pink beads, so to say. Okay, that's the first thing. Yeah. The negative charges, as I showed you yesterday, are doing the same thing but with other particles. So a negative charge emits the purple squares or cubes, and the cubes have a wave function that is a cube wave function. So the negative charge will emit in all directions, to above and to all directions, these particles. Yeah? Okay, that's the other picture I showed you. I hope this is clear. Next slide. And what happens with these particles is shown in this picture. Let's get used to the left and right side of it. Okay. So the positive charge, here, the positive charge is emitting these pink beads to the negative charge, and the positive charge acts as an emitter. It emits these particles, and the negative charge acts as it sucks up like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks up these pink beads. Now, what are these pink beads that flow from positive to negative? What are they? And you see that the lines, and you can check them yourself with these kinds of experiments, that these lines are bent. They're not in a straight line, except in the middle here, but they are bent. So some people suggest that these particles are photons. Well, a photon does not behave in such a way. A photon does not have curved paths. Light or photons always travel in a straight line, except in a heavy mass gravitational field. Well, this is looked at from the positive to the negative side. These particles are flowing. The positive side emits these pink beads and and the negative side absorbs these as a drainage. So this, the positive side acts as a well of the pink particles, and the negative side acts like a drainage of these pink beads. Now, at the same time, simultaneously, the opposite is true as well, that the negative particle emits the cubes, the purple cubes, and the positive charge acts as a drainage system for these purple cubes. And so this is the purple cubes are emitted here, travel to some kind of positive charge, and are absorbed in like a vacuum cleaner in the positive charge. And again, it's a similar type of particle, but it's not the same type of particle. It's a different type of particle. And these flows are going to mix. This happens at the same time as with this. So it happens simultaneously. So basically what you get is this. Hope you can see it. The positive charge is emitting the pink beads, and the negative charge is emitting the purple cubes. And the pink beads are absorbed by the negative charge, only absorbed by the negative charge. They can only be absorbed by the negative charge, and the purple cubes are only absorbed by the positive charge. And these are the paths. They are bent paths, so they cannot be photons. So they must be a different type of particle. I don't know what it is yet, but that's the way it is. And since both systems are absorbing or sucking up like a vacuum cleaner these particles, these particles attract each other. So because they create a vacuum close by, and that draws each other nearer and nearer and nearer, and even faster and faster and faster. Just like a vacuum cleaner, if you keep it to a surface, it all of a sudden sticks to it, and then it sticks to it. Just the same principle as that. Okay. I will show you here some videos that I showed you also in the other movie. Why I think this is so. There are some flow patterns. If you look at the videos that I gave you in the other movie, I will also present them in this movie. Then you see that charges, but also magnetism, is related in some way to flow patterns. If you distribute some fine particles and in water, and you have a drainage in which they are sucked into, then you see flow patterns emerge in the same way as you see magnetic. If you have a magnetic bar and you put on paper, a sheet of paper, you put on iron filing or iron particles, then they arrange in a certain way that I showed you in the movies. And maybe these movies I'll put here or wherever, so you can see what I mean with these patterns. But it shows also this same patterns I observed to appear in when you disperse some fine particles into water and it's flushed away. Then you see the same type, exactly the same type of flow patterns. So apparently something must be flowing from positive to negative and from negative to positive. Well, why do I think that from the positive and the negative charge they are sending particles to each other? Well, that has all to do with the symmetry of this whole system. It must be symmetric, because otherwise you end up in trouble, because of this. Because two same charged particles, two of the same charges, they will repel each other, and that can only be true if, and this of course, the same picture goes for negative charges, if they emit particles in such a way that they are opposing each other, that they are, you can imagine that if you have a fireman have his hose to extinguish fire, but it emits a lot of water. Now suppose that you have two firemen standing up across each other and they fire water, they emit water to each other, then that is colliding and they repel each other. At the same way, negative charges repel another negative charge and positive charges repel another positive charge. They repel each other. Why? Because they both emitting the same type of particles and they cannot take it in. They cannot take in the particles that they emit. They can only emit these type of particles, but they can absorb the particles that are sent from the opposite charge. So a positive charge can accept the particles that is emitted from a negative charge, and a negative charge can only absorb the particles that are sent from a positive charge. And that's why they suck it up. Actually, they suck it in such a way up that in between there's create a vacuum, and that's sucking them into each other. So this picture, the repellent of each other, this also can be drawn in blue and with cubes. In this case I chose for the positive charge and the pink beads. And you see that they repel each other because they cannot handle it. The streams, the streams of the positive charges, they push the other away, just like an air blower. If you have two air blowers or two water streams and they repel each other, there's a force that keeps them away. It makes the pressure in between the pressure of the pressure of these pink particles is intermediate. It's bigger, so it repels these positive charges. The same goes exactly for the negative charges. So that's why both negative and positive, like this, must send their own type of particles. The pink positive charge is emitting pink beads, and the negative blue charge is emitting purple cubes. And there's the same type of particles, these intermediates, the intermediate particles, but they're not the same particles. The same type of particles, but not the same. I also said that I suspect that due to absorption of these if this is a negative charge, then the pink particles, if they are emitted from the positive charge and they arrive at the negative charge, that inside of the negative charge these are changed, the wave function change to a purple cube particle, and it's re-emitted again as a purple cube particle. So inside a charge, apparently the wave function of the pink beads is changed into the wave function of a purple cube. That's what I suspect. I don't know yet if it's true, but it would make this clear that this is happening. One moment. Yeah, right. That was my alarm to wake up, but I couldn't sleep, so I woke up a little earlier. So I suspect that this process is also going on at the same time as the negative charges emit their purple cube particles and absorbing the pink beads particles. So the wave function of the beads is changed into the wave function of the cubes. Another phone. So many phones. So, okay, let's put off. So this is what I think as well that is happening. What did I want to share? Oh yeah. Now The wave function alteration, it's altering. A lot of people say from, hey, a wave function can collapse into something, but I don't believe it collapses. I think that the wave functions are altered. I mean, this apparently the negative charge is so big that the wave function of a bead must change due to the negative charge system. In the same token as the next thing, in this experiment, you see the same thing. Here you have a light or a particle emitter. Well, here is in this case a light particle or an electron wave. So there is a wave function of the particle. In this case, let's say it's a light particle. So the wave function of a light particle. Then it crosses the two-slit experiment thing, and then it ends up in in a screen where it's detected, the detector screen. Now we all know that the highest concentration is here, and then here above is a lower, and even here it's even much lower, etc. So you get a double slit pattern, as we know. But when a light particle come from this side, here it still has a wave function for a single particle. But if it hits the screen, then it becomes visible. Then you see the screen light up. Because the particle, the wave function is altered. It does not collapse, but it's changed from a wave function of a light particle into the wave function of a particle that hits the screen, because the screen is a macroscopic object, and it forces the light particle to change its wave function from a light wave function to a macroscopic object wave function. And going back to this, the same is happening here. The wave function of the pink bead particle, if it hits the negative charge, it automatically changes into the wave function of a cube, a purple cube, and is re-emitted again. So in the same token as it is as a light particle, let me see. No. As a light particle is forced to change its wave function, and that is actually what happens with observation. If a light particle is hitting an macroscopic object, then it must change its wave function in order to participate in a macroscopic object, because due to confinement, that is energy barriers, they confine a free wave function into a smaller, more localized wave function, and that's what's happening in this type of in the two-slit experiment. That the wave function is altered. It is not collapsed, but it's altered. It makes part of here it's a free particle which has a lot of space, and so it can be spread out and act more like a wave. But here it is bound, it is confined due to energy barriers. So it must have a different wave function. So it alters its wave function in order to become a macroscopic part of a macroscopic object, in this case the detection screen. And this detection screen is a macroscopic object, so the wave function of the light particle that hits this screen must also be altered into the wave function of a macroscopic object. Well, the same process is happening here when a pink bead particle hits a negative charge, in this case a negative charge, but the same process goes for the other way. The wave function is altered in a different type of wave function, and thus a different type of particle, and it is re-emitted as a purple cube particle. That's what I suspect, at least, of course. Where do we also see that? In that particles change their identity in neutrino oscillations. Neutrinos, you have the electron neutrino, you have a muon neutrino, and you have a tau neutrino. And they can, these flavors, they can oscillate between each other. They can change flavor, so to say. Apparently this also might be happening in this process, and so that's why also the likewise charges, they repel each other, because they cannot take in, they can only emit these purple beads and they cannot absorb them. They cannot act as a vacuum cleaner for these purple pink beads, but they can only act as a vacuum cleaner for the purple cubes particles. And of course purple pink beads and purple cubes is just a name. To make it clear, I just had to draw some picture of it, so I chose for beads or dots and squares or cubes. So it's just a name, just to make the picture clear. But eventually the whole picture is that this is a flow model. And in flows, if you have two sources of flow, then they will repel each other. But if you have one flow and one drainage system, so if you have a well from which water comes out, and you have a drainage system, yeah, that works together well. And if there were nothing in between, they could attract each other because there is a vacuum created in between. One sucks up the particles of another. Well, and that's the whole idea, the basic idea, and also you can see these patterns also if you make in oil and you disperse some iron particles, then you can see also these patterns exist in reality, and so that indicates that something must be flowing. Something, I don't know yet what. It is not a photon. Many people think that charge emits some kind of photons or virtual photons, I don't know, but it cannot be a photon, because a photon is going straight. The speed is too high to bend, and you see very clearly that these patterns are bent. If you look at the magnetic bar and you put iron particles in oil, then you see a clear bend pattern. Well, that cannot be light, so there must be some other kind of particles, and both the negative charge are emitting some kind of particle, as the positive charge are emitting some similar but different type of particle. They both emit, otherwise you have a loss of symmetry, because both negative charges are repelling each other and both positive charges are repelling each other. So the both type of system must go for both type of particles, but apparently the type of particles that they are emitting must be different from each other. Otherwise this whole system breaks down. So there must be some symmetry in it. Okay, I hope you understand. I try to put some links of other videos where you can see the whole picture, and I hope that you get the picture what I mean. It's a flow model. The whole idea is based on a flow model in which one particle acts as an emitter of some kind of particles, and but at the same time acts as an absorber, as a vacuum cleaner for the other type of particles, and the same goes for the positive, for the other charge. Well, it's maybe not an easy story, but I hope you understand it nonetheless. Now I had a better camera, so I can show you the pictures better. I hope you understand, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Hasta la vista.